Story 1, The Forgotten Isle. I've never felt true fear before that night. Not like this. I didn't think a place as mundane as Wallmart could hold that kind of terror, but maybe that's the point. It's supposed to feel safe, familiar. I don't know if I'll ever go back. Scratch that. I know I'll never go back. It started on a Saturday night. I was in Walmart because I needed a few things. Bread, milk, a few snacks for the week. The kind of quick, in and out run everyone makes when they don't feel like grocery shopping but know they have to. I was tired. The fluorescent lights were already giving me a headache, but I figured I could grab what I needed and be done in 15 minutes, tops. I remember walking through the aisles, my brain on autopilot, when I saw it. An aisle I'd never noticed before. I know that sounds weird because everyone knows their local Walmart by heart, right? But I swear, I'd never seen this aisle. It was off. The shelves were taller than the others, and everything looked dusty, like it had been sitting there for years. The air felt colder too, which is ridiculous because Walmart is always cold. But this was different. Like the temperature had dropped by 10 degrees the moment I stepped closer. I don't know why I didn't just turn around then. Something should have warned me to leave, but curiosity has always been my downfall. I pushed my cart down the aisle, thinking maybe this was some kind of clearance section no one knew about. The kind of place where you find those crazy deals they never advertise. The lights above flickered and my heart skipped a beat. For a second, I thought I saw someone standing at the end of the aisle. A man. But when the lights steadied, he was gone. I tried to laugh it off. It's late. I'm tired, I thought. But something in my gut felt wrong. I kept walking. The products on the shelves didn't make sense. Boxes with labels I didn't recognize. Cereal brands with faded packaging, soda cans that looked like they were from another decade. The further I went, the weirder it got. The air felt heavier, thicker. I could hear my own breathing echo in my ears, louder than it should have been. And then I saw him again. He was at the end of the aisle, standing still, facing me. He wasn't moving. I couldn't see his face, but I could feel his eyes on me, watching, waiting. My pulse quickened, and suddenly the urge to leave became overwhelming. I turned around, pushing my cart back the way I came, but the aisle was gone. I stopped, blinked. I must have gotten turned around, right? Maybe I was more tired than I thought. I took a step forward, trying to retrace my steps, but the shelves around me seemed to shift. They weren't where they should have been. The aisles were twisting, narrowing. And that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Slow, deliberate. They were coming from behind me, and I didn't dare turn around. I started walking faster, heart racing, my cart rattling as I pushed it. The footsteps followed. Closer now. I broke into a run, abandoning the cart, sprinting down what felt like a maze of endless aisles. The shelves towered above me, stretching into blackness. It didn't make sense. I should have hit a wall by now, reached the end of the store, but there was nothing. Just more aisles, more shelves, and the footsteps, always right behind me. "Help!" I screamed, but my voice echoed back, distorted, twisted, and then silence. I slowed down, gasping for breath, my chest tight. The footsteps had stopped. Maybe I'd lost him. Excuse me. The voice was right behind me. I froze, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. I didn't want to turn around. I couldn't, but my body moved on its own. Slowly, I turned my head, and there he was. Tall. Too tall. His limbs were long, almost inhuman, his skin pale under the flickering lights. His smile. God, that smile. It was stretched too wide across his face, like his skin didn't quite fit right. His eyes were dark, hollow, but they gleamed with something I can only describe as hunger. "Can I help you find something?" His voice was smooth, sickeningly polite, like a customer service rep who's done this job for too long. My throat was dry. I tried to speak, to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. He took a step closer. "Are you lost?" I backed away, my heart pounding in my ears. The air felt thick, oppressive, and I could feel him getting closer with every breath. I had to move. I had to run. I turned and bolted, not caring where I was going anymore, just desperate to get away. The aisles blurred around me, twisting into a chaotic maze of shelves and products that didn't make sense. I wasn't in Walmart anymore. I was somewhere else. Somewhere wrong. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Not with him right behind me, his footsteps echoing through the aisles. And then, just as I thought my legs would give out, I saw it. The exit. the bright glowing sign above the sliding doors, so close I could almost taste freedom. I sprinted toward it, my breath coming in ragged gasps, my feet slamming against the tile. I was almost there. Almost. The doors didn't open. I slammed into them, hard, the glass rattling but refusing to budge. I pounded on the doors, screaming for someone, anyone, to help me. But the parking lot outside was empty, silent, and then I felt it, a cold breath on the back of my neck. Leaving so soon? His voice was a whisper now, inches away. I turned slowly, and there he was, closer than ever. His grin wider, his eyes darker, like the shadows were consuming him, consuming me. I pressed myself against the glass, my hands shaking, my heart hammering in my chest. There was nowhere to go, no escape. And then he smiled. The lights flickered, and the world around me shifted. The aisles, the shelves, the entire store warped and twisted until I didn't know which way was up. The man, no, the thing, reached out, fingers curling toward me, and I felt something cold wrap around my ankle, but no one heard me. Now to story 2, the overnight shift. Working the overnight shift at Walmart seemed like an easy gig when I first took the job. Quiet, peaceful, just restocking shelves and dealing with the occasional weird late-night shopper. Honestly, I was looking forward to the solitude. But after my first night, I knew I'd never be able to look at a Walmart the same way again. It all started off normal enough. My manager, Jerry, gave me a rundown of what needed to be done for the night. He wasn't a talker, more of the type that liked to sit in the back office, probably browsing his phone. "Just you in the aisles tonight," he said, before disappearing. That was fine by me. I liked being alone. I grabbed a pallet of cleaning supplies and headed for the back of the store, the buzz of the fluorescent lights overhead following me the whole way. The store felt bigger at night, when it was empty. The rows of shelves stretched endlessly. The hum of the refrigerators in the distance was the only noise I could hear. At first, it was calming. I liked the quiet, but as the hours ticked by, that silence started to get to me. It was too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. I tried to distract myself by focusing on my work, but that uneasy feeling gnawed at me. Maybe it was the lights. They flickered every now and then, casting weird shadows in the corners of the aisles. Or maybe it was the emptiness. There's something eerie about being in a place that's usually packed with people and seeing it so still. And then I heard it. A sound. Something like footsteps. Slow, deliberate. I froze, listening. It didn't make sense. Jerry was in the back office, probably asleep. There shouldn't be anyone else here. I strained to hear again, but the footsteps stopped. Maybe I imagined it, I thought. I went back to stacking shelves, trying to shake off the creeping feeling that something was off. But the air felt heavier now, like I wasn't alone. Then it happened again. Footsteps. Closer this time. "Jerry?" I called out, my voice breaking the silence. No answer, just the low hum of the lights above me. I dropped the box I was holding and stepped out into the main aisle, looking down both ends. Nothing. The store was empty, just rows of products staring back at me. "Jerry?" I called again, louder this time. Still no response. I decided to head toward the back office to check on him, figuring maybe he'd gone for a quick walk around the store or something. As I made my way through the aisles, the lights above flickered again, casting the shelves in strange, flickering shadows. And then I heard it. A whisper. It was soft, faint, almost like it was carried on the wind. But there was no wind inside Walmart. It wasn't coming from the office. It was coming from the next aisle over. "Help me!" I froze. The voice was weak, like someone was barely holding on. My first thought was that someone was hurt, maybe a customer who had snuck in after closing or an employee stuck somewhere. I couldn't just ignore it. "Hello?" I called out, moving toward the voice. "Are you okay?" No answer. I rounded the corner into the next aisle, my heart pounding in my chest. The shelves were stocked with cleaning supplies, everything in its place, and at the far end there was someone. It was a woman. At least I thought it was. She was standing still, her back to me, her hair long and tangled, her clothes hanging loosely on her frame. Something about her seemed wrong, off. She wasn't moving. "Ma'am?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Do you need help?" She didn't respond. She just stood there, frozen. I took a step closer, and that's when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Her feet. They weren't touching the ground. She was hovering. "Ma'am," I said again. my voice shaking now. "Are you all right?" Slowly, she began to turn around. Her movements were jerky, unnatural, like a marionette being pulled by invisible strings. When her face came into view, I felt my stomach drop. Her eyes were wide, too wide, and her mouth was twisted into a grin that stretched unnaturally across her face. Her skin was pale, almost translucent under the harsh fluorescent lights, and her eyes, they were hollow, empty. And then she laughed. It was a low, guttural sound, not at all human. It sent chills racing down my spine, and I stumbled backward, nearly knocking over the shelf behind me. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, frozen in fear. The woman, or whatever she was, tilted her head, her grin growing wider. She took a step toward me, her feet still hovering inches above the floor. Her limbs moved in unnatural ways, like her joints were all wrong. "Help me," she whispered again, but this time it wasn't a plea. It was a command. I turned and bolted, sprinting down the aisle as fast as my legs would carry me. The shelves blurred past me as I ran, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My mind was racing. What the hell was that thing? Where was Jerry? I needed to get out of here. But when I reached the front doors, they didn't open. I slammed into them, my hands pounding on the glass, but the automatic doors wouldn't budge. I hit the door harder, panic surging through my body as I realized I was trapped. My breath fogged up the glass as I frantically looked around for another way out. And then I heard her laugh again. It was closer this time, echoing through the empty store. I spun around, my back pressed against the door, and saw her at the far end of the aisle. Her body was twisted, her head cocked unnaturally to the side, her eyes locked on mine. She took another step toward me, her limbs bending in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "Don't leave me," she whispered, her voice sickly sweet, like she was mocking me. I backed away, my heart hammering in my chest. I was trapped. There was nowhere to go. My mind raced, trying to find an escape, but all I could hear was her laughter, growing louder, echoing in my ears. And then the lights flickered again, plunging the store into darkness. I froze, my breath coming in shallow gasps as the laughter grew louder, more distorted. I could feel her presence, feel her getting closer, but I couldn't see anything. The darkness pressed in around me, suffocating, and I knew she was right behind me. I didn't want to turn around. I didn't want to see her face again, but I couldn't move. I couldn't think. And then, just as suddenly as the lights went out, they flickered back on. She was gone. I stood there, trembling, my heart still racing as I looked around the store. The aisles were empty. The woman, whatever she was, had vanished. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerators in the distance. I didn't waste any time. I bolted for the back office, praying Jerry was still there. I banged on the door, my hands shaking, and when he opened it, he gave me a look like I was crazy. "What the hell's wrong with you?" he asked, his voice thick with annoyance. I didn't even know where to begin. I just stammered something about needing to leave, needing to get out of the store, but he just shook his head. "Calm down, man. You're probably just seeing things. It's late and you're tired. Take a break if you need to." But I knew what I saw. I quit the next day. Story 3. Rollback Horror. It was supposed to be a quick trip, just a few items for the weekend, nothing special. My girlfriend, Kim, had asked me to stop by Wallmart on my way home to pick up a few things. Some snacks, laundry detergent, and whatever else we needed around the apartment. We had plans for a cozy night in, maybe a movie, and some takeout. You know, just one of those lazy evenings. It was already late, maybe around 10 p.m., but Walmart stays open all night, so I figured I'd be in and out within 10 minutes. It's just Walmart, right? What could possibly happen? I pulled into the mostly empty parking lot. The only cars there were scattered here and there, probably a few late shoppers and the employees working the night shift. I parked near the entrance, grabbed a cart, and headed inside. The store felt different at night, not in a creepy way, at least not at first, but in that strange, empty way when a place that's usually packed with people is almost deserted. The usual hustle and bustle was gone, replaced by the low hum of fluorescent lights and the faint music playing over the speakers. There were only a few other shoppers in sight, wandering the aisles aimlessly. As I made my way to the snack aisle, I noticed something odd. The shelves looked wrong. Not empty exactly, but the products were stacked in a strange way. Things were out of place, like they'd been thrown there by someone who didn't care. Bags of chips were mixed in with cleaning supplies, soda cans placed haphazardly next to shampoo bottles. Weird, but I shrugged it off. Maybe they were restocking and someone just didn't care about organization tonight. I grabbed a bag of chips, a couple of drinks, and headed toward the laundry aisle. That's when I saw the first one, a rollback sign. You know the ones. Bright yellow tags hanging under products, announcing some great deal. Only, this one was different. It was handwritten in black marker, the letters shaky, as if someone had written it in a hurry. The sign read, "Roll back your soul dollars." I stared at it for a moment, confused. Was this some kind of prank? Some bored employee trying to spice up their shift? It wasn't funny. I pulled the sign off the shelf, crumpled it up, and tossed it in my cart. Whatever. Someone's idea of a joke, I thought. But then, as I moved down the aisle, I saw another one. And another. Each rollback sign was just as weird as the first. Rollback, sanity, 50% off. Rollback, fear, buy one, get one free. My heart started racing. What was this? Who was doing this? I looked around, but the aisle was empty. The few other shoppers I'd seen earlier were gone, and the store felt impossibly quiet now, as if the music had stopped playing. Something was off. I could feel it in my gut. I kept moving, pushing my cart faster now, trying to focus on the reason I was there. Laundry detergent, snacks, just get the stuff and leave. I rounded the corner, heading toward the cleaning aisle, and that's when I saw him. A man, standing at the end of the aisle, his back to me. He was tall, wearing a long, dark coat, his shoulders hunched as if he was looking at something on the shelves. His hair was greasy, stringy, and his posture gave off a vibe that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. "Hey," I called out, trying to sound casual. "You work here?" The man didn't respond. He didn't even move. I took a few cautious steps forward, gripping the handle of my cart tightly. "Hey, man, you good?" Still nothing. I was about to turn around and leave when he moved. Slowly, deliberately, he turned to face me. I expected to see the face of some tired employee, maybe a shopper who had wandered in late, but what I saw instead wasn't human. His face was pale, almost chalky white, with dark, hollow eyes that looked like they had sunk deep into his skull. His mouth was stretched into a twisted, unnatural smile, and his teeth were jagged, sharp, almost like the teeth of an animal. His hands, long and bony, clutched a box of laundry detergent like it was some kind of prized possession. He stared at me, unblinking, that horrible smile frozen on his face. I froze, my blood running cold. What the hell?" I stammered, taking a step back. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, smiling, his eyes locked on mine. And then, slowly, he began to walk toward me. Each step was deliberate, slow, like he was savoring the moment. The lights overhead flickered, casting long, eerie shadows across the floor as he moved closer. I turned and bolted, leaving my cart behind as I ran through the aisles. My heart was pounding in my chest, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I didn't care about the detergent or the snacks anymore. I just needed to get out of there. But as I ran, the store seemed to change. The aisles grew longer, stretching out in front of me in impossible ways. The shelves twisted and bent, the products on them shifting and moving as if they were alive. Every corner I turned, the aisles looked the same. Endless rows of rollback signs, all with the same eerie messages. Rollback humanity, limited time only. Rollback hope, out of stock. I was trapped. I skidded to a stop, my breath hitching in my throat as I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate, closer and closer I turned, and there he was again. The man with the twisted smile. Only this time there were more of them. Dozens of them, all with the same pale faces, the same sunken eyes, the same horrible smiles. They stood at the ends of the aisles, watching me, their heads tilting in unison as they moved closer. No, this can't be real," I whispered, backing away. But it was real. I could feel it. I turned and ran again, my legs burning as I sprinted toward the front of the store. I could see the entrance now, the automatic doors glowing under the fluorescent lights. Freedom was just a few feet away, but as I reached the doors, they didn't open. I slammed into them, my hands pounding against the glass. "Come on, open!" I shouted, but the doors remained closed, locked tight. I turned, and the figures were right behind me. They surrounded me, their grins wide, their eyes unblinking. The man from the laundry aisle stepped forward, his jagged teeth glinting in the flickering light. "Roll back," he whispered, his voice low and raspy. I stumbled backward, my back pressed against the glass as I looked around desperately for a way out. There was none. I was trapped. "Roll back," the man whispered again, his smile growing wider. Everything must go. The last thing I saw was his hand reaching for me, those long, bony fingers curling around my arm, his grin spreading impossibly wide. And then, everything went dark. The next morning, Walmart opened as usual. Shoppers wandered the aisles, employees stocked the shelves, and the rollback signs announced the latest deals. No one noticed the crumpled cart left abandoned in the cleaning aisle. No one noticed the strange messages scrawled on the rollback signs. And no one noticed that another shopper had vanished into the night, never to be seen again.